Ladies and gentlemen, the deadline is approaching. As I said it earlier this afternoon, Sportswire Radio is getting you ready for Wrestling Appreciation Society's deadline, April the 29th at Huddersfield, and it's not that far away. And our guest, who's no stranger to us here on Sportswire Radio, is going to be involved in a match that many would say could very well be the main event of the show or the main event of any other company out there. And he is certainly royalty. He is British royalty. He's going to talk about his match, which we're going to touch upon here very shortly against the wild card Tommy Dillon, a former nonstop action wrestling world class champion, plus much more. So let's get right into it. So without further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one, Global Sports Show. Pro wrestling star here from Wrestling Appreciation Society, Matt Roy. The king is here. How
Very
are
great
you?
to be back, Tom. Very great to be back. It's always an honor, always a privilege. So thank you very much for having me back on.
Well, we're here with royalty, so obviously the pleasure is certainly all ours here because we're in the graces of royalty. It's not too often that, listen, we can get into royalty. I guess obviously, Prince Harry and Prince Charles, they weren't available, and so we had the next best option, which is you, which is certainly, we're happy to speak with you because there is a lot to talk about with you, my friend. Obviously, you have been the talk of the pro wrestling world here over the past several weeks because we're going to see you return to the ring, and what a way to return here, coming up on April the 29th there in Huddersfield for Wrestling Appreciation Society's first ever show here against the wild card Tommy Dillon, the first ever nonstop action wrestling world-class champion, and certainly the wild card has been in his share of some high-profile matches. So for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, talk about what we can expect here coming up in a few short months and anything else you might want to say in a wild card versus royalist match here.
Well, obviously, we all know that the wild card has been on a little bit of a losing streak, but I don't think that is anything to kind of say that I can take him lightly. I mean, it's Tommy Dillon. We've all seen what he's capable of. We know what he can do. Obviously, I've asked him for his response on to anything that I can say about him, and I got a response. Wasn't the one I was hoping for, but I mean, I can tell with obviously what's been going on, there is going to be a little bit of a change in attitude, and that's all that I've seen so far. And it doesn't make me lose respect for the man, but it does kind of make me not regret, but second guess the choice I made for the match.
Regret? You sure you want to regret? I mean, listen. I mean, that's not good here tonight live. You do realize you're here, and people all over the world are going to hear this, and they're saying you were thinking about regretting. Are you sure that that's the choice of words you want to give here tonight?
I mean, I don't want to say that I regret it, but there is definitely that thought in my head that is this man the man that I thought he was? I mean, yes, he's lost matches, but the respect that he's giving out it seems to be changing. It seems to be like his outlook on the match itself isn't what I thought it would be. And so it's not as much a regret, it's a second guess, a second thought, and it's in a sense making me change the why I'm wanting to do this. It's not a case of I want to showcase what I can do. It's now I want to prove a point. I need to prove to myself that obviously Tommy's been saying what he wants to say, but he can't stop me. I'm younger than he is. I'm hungrier than he is. And I've been doing this.
Well, some would say you're a lot younger than him.
Maybe just a lot younger, you know. Maybe he is old enough to be my father. Maybe he isn't. We don't know this. I don't know his age. So who knows?
That's what some would say. Not us here. I want to make that clear on Sportswire. That is not me. But I want to talk about Tommy Dillon in a couple of different ways. And the first way, I actually think here, Matt Royale, you've got him right where you want him. You've got him here at the right time because the last time we spoke with you, he was the champion in nonstop action wrestling. We spoke and everybody was like, Tommy Dillon, he's on this run. He's the wild card, the first ever nonstop action wrestling world-class champion, right? But he lost not once, but twice to Disciple. First time when he was the champion, and the second time he went for a rematch. We've seen what happened in UKW when J. Bro Lewis turned on him. I mean, right now, Tommy Dillon is definitely on the short end of the stick. And sometimes in wrestling, you want to kick people while they're down. And the wild card right now is definitely down. Disciple made work of him. He's the leader now. The Wrecking Crew took over Nonstop Action Wrestling. UKW, J-Ro shocked everybody. So I think right now, off the bat, Matt Royale, the Royalist right now is got the edge. You got him right where you want him.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't want this to be a walk in the park. I want this to be a challenge, and so I don't want him to come in with just pity on himself. I mean, yes, he hasn't had the wins at the minute, but everyone knows what he can do. Everyone knows what he has done. So I want him to bring that. That's what we want to see from him. We don't want to see this pitting himself. Oh, he keeps losing. He keeps losing. He needs to want to win. That's the Tommy Dillon I want to fight. That's the Tommy Dillon I expect to be fighting April 29th.
Well, we'll certainly find out here. And I want to give a couple of people a mention here when it comes to people tuned in. I want to give a shout out to this individual. It says, very good evening, boys. And I won't tip my hand who this individual may know. Our guest coming up next one day, Skulls the Soul Hunter here from the state of California, who's tuned in. By the way, 1 o'clock. What are you, Skulls, on a lunch break from maybe collecting souls or collecting bodies? Says Skulls here. And big shout out to Skulls. Looking forward to speaking with you Wednesday afternoon, your time. And Donnie Franchise is here, and we know the franchise is going to be in another big main event match against the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. And we've seen the back and forth there, and he says, my main man, good evening, Mr. Royale. And also another champion that is tuned in, a current champion, by the way, who was successful in Nonstop Action Wrestling, that is Supersonic Sammy Blue, who has been impressing a lot of people over the past few months, says, Mr. Royale, how do you diddly do? And anything you want to say to the Northern Division champion there, Supersonic Sammy Blue?
Well, obviously, we have seen that I have made a slight return to the ring so far, doing a couple of matches over at NSAW. And Supersonic Sammy Blue did manage to get the one up on me that day. But I see the belt around your waist, and there's always time on the clock. So sometime it's going to come around, and I will see you again, and I will take the strap off your shoulder. Thank you.
All right, but I will say before I get to some other comments here into Phrase Green Day, when I come around back to Supersonic Sammy Blue, I mean, he has really impressed a lot of people. Now, I know you were in the ring there in Asylum with him, and obviously, you got a chance to see him up close. And Chris Murphy was telling everybody he's got a plan. He's going to beat Supersonic Sammy Blue, and even Disciple kind of gave his sign of respect to Supersonic Sammy Blue in kind of a champion versus champion test there at the Tommy Dillon charity show there. I mean, Sammy Blue right now is on a run. I would arguably say he's on one of the top runs of anybody in wrestling aside from, well, Disciples. So, I mean, you might want to focus on the wild card first would be my point.
I mean, I can't really fault Sammy Blue. Obviously, he's been on a roll. I mean, I think he's definitely a wrestler you can't really prepare for because you don't know what you're going to get on the day, which I think works to his advantage massively well. And I think he's going to hold the belt for a very long time because I don't think there is going to be an opponent that can really size him up because I think he's a smaller guy, but at the same time, he doesn't come across as a smaller guy.
No, and I think what's his advantage is that he's also very agile. He moves well in the ring, and he's not. I don't think he's as small the way he works as he looks. So he's a guy that really does, I think, a lot, and that's what we always love. Speaking with Supersonic Sammy, who we're going to bring back onto Sportswire very soon. So looking forward to that as well. Let me get to some more comments here first. Also says here, Phantom Phoenix, who we've seen a little bit here in Wrestling Appreciation Society, says, hello there, Royale. And anything you want to say to the Phantom?
I mean, Phantom Phoenix, another character. I mean, we don't really know very much about Phantom Phoenix. He's very to himself, but I'm very excited to see what he's going to pull out of the bag come deadline. I mean, like I say, at the minute, we've seen nothing from him, so it's all a matter of time to see if all of it is just talk or if it can be put into working, really.
That's always what it's about here. I mean, certainly that is the case. Let me get to some more comments, and I have a question actually for you, so I'll do all that first here. Another one of our good friends says, good evening, and certainly we wish him a good evening as well. And also, Skulls says, almost missed this during my workout, which he has a question I'll follow up with in a second. And Supersonic Sammy Blue appreciates the kind words. The Lawman Kyle Kennedy says, props to Sammy Dudes, a Wally Fox in the ring. And by the way, the Lawman was the talk last night of the pro wrestling world, because we saw what he did in interrupting, trying to give friendly advice to Dan Robertson, the Cult of Killjoy. So certainly we'll see here. And also, I'll come back to this. The lawman says, careful, Donnie. Don't trip on your keyboard and hurt yourself, buddy. Need you 100%. Well, I'll let those individuals speak for themselves. But I have a question, actually, before I come back to some other people. What advice would you give to an up-and-coming wrestler?
I think it's work with as many companies as you can. Don't just go to one training school. Go to as many as you can get to, because as soon as you get your name to multiple places, you're getting yourselves potentially on multiple shows. Then from that, all it is you're going to go up and up and up, really. So just get your name out as much as you can. Go to as many sessions as you can. Just work with as many trainers as possible as well. Don't just learn one style. Learn as many trainer styles as you can, because it will only aid you in what you're wanting to do.
All right, very, very well said. Almost like my crypto portfolio yesterday went up, up, up for a change. So, but that's here nor there. Also, I have here from Supersonic Sammy Blue. Speaking of deadline, I may or may not be making an announcement about what I'll be doing on the show soon. So, stay tuned to that here, and maybe stay tuned to Supersonic Sammy Blue's pages on Instagram, Facebook. Give him a big shout and a big follow. And this individual, before I come back to the wild card, I really want to come back to the wild card here, but Callum Ajaxer, who's 1/4 of the first ever nonstop action wrestling tag team champions from the Society, the Upgrade. Callum Ajaxer says, going to be an easy birthday if no one accepts the Society's challenge. I mean, that's pertaining to the 29th of April. And you have a thought on that? I mean, I know you're obviously tied up in your own big match, and what, but anything you might want to add or say to it, Mr. Majakester?
I have been using my contacts. I have been asking around. I've got a few names in mind, so don't worry. There will be someone there that are willing to take those tag titles off you if you manage to keep them past Zenith. So just be careful, because there will be someone there and they will be hungrier than you are to keep those titles. They will want to take them away from you. So don't look too lightly and don't sleep on it.
All right, well, we'll certainly find out. I have a feeling we'll be speaking a lot about the Society throughout the next hour here. And Phantom Phoenix says, you need not worry, Royale. I will put the work and training in for deadline, and we shall meet in the ring. Boy, that seems like a challenge thrown out there.
I can't, as much as I would love to fight everyone that is taking part on the show at the minute, I can't focus on everyone. The wild card, Tommy Dillon, he's the person that needs to be focused on.
You got to focus on Tommy Dillon right now.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know everybody wants to certainly, talk about you and talk about you in different ways, because you've obviously started the comeback. We spoke about that a few months ago, and you've been in the ring since here. But Mr. Majakster here wants to follow up here. The Upgrade, Callum Majakster, says, I'm sure you have also. How big are the mouths on your boys? They keep trying to hijack Enzo. I mean, your Wrestling Appreciation Society group, obviously. So, any thoughts on that? You guys trying to hijack Enzo? Is that a fair statement from the Upgrade, Callum Jakester, you think?
I wouldn't say hijack. I think we are obviously working alongside NSAW, and I think, like I was saying earlier, I mean, any kind of way to get your name to another company, anything you can do,
Hey,
get your name out.
you know what? Listen, and to be fair, Enzo works with CCW. They work with GTM. They work with Blackheart. I mean, couldn't have some said the same thing about Enzo with those companies? I mean,
true.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those. As much as we can get his names out, I think that's all we really want to do. Obviously, we want to sell out the show. We want to do the best we can, and obviously, NSAW have now got a reputation of show after show selling out.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That's what we want to do with Deadline.
I think we will, because obviously we're going to be promoting you on Sportswire Radio throughout these next several weeks in the next few months. So we're going to definitely do our best, and I want everybody to follow Matt Royale, please, on Instagram at Matt_Royale.wrestle. Also, please support the Wrestling Appreciation Society on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Just follow them all. Matt Royale is also on Facebook. Please support his group, and please support every wrestler out there that is trying. And I want to come back to nonstop action wrestling in a second, but let's come back to Tommy Dillon before I was kind of hijacked for a small detour here. But when it comes to the wild card, I do feel like this is the match you picked. I still say you got him at the right time. You also a wrestler right now in Tommy Dillon. I mean, he's got to be thinking, you know what? I lost the title. Disciple embarrassed me. J-Ro turned on me. I mean, he's got to right now emotionally not be in the right frame of mind. This is why you've got to be happy. I have got to have imagined. Also, watch some of those most recent matches. You were down there at the Tommy Dillon show, I know. You were down there. I'm sure you've seen the tapes on Instagram with Disciple and Tommy Dillon. So you've actually got a big scouting report on there. So talk about maybe some of these matches. Have you watched them? Have you dissect them? Has that helped you prepare for the game plan coming up here April the 29th against Tommy Dillon?
There are absolutely, you have to kind of dissect the matches. Obviously, that's what I was saying a few months ago. At the minute, Tommy Dillon's got nothing on me. He can't. There's nothing out there about me, so there's nothing you can watch. Obviously, UKW have now just put out their new streaming service where you can literally watch back all the matches from like the past decade. So there's so much now on Tommy Dillon that I don't think there's anything he can pull out really. I can't see coming. He's a predictable man. He knows what he knows. He knows what he knows, and he does what he knows well. So I think at the minute, I have got the one up, but obviously that could all change.
And I'm going to come back to this. And the lawman, Kyle Kennedy, says what some people are saying right now, I wouldn't worry. Tommy is a serial loser. You've got it easy.
I hate to agree with Kyle Kennedy, but it's at the minute, obviously we're not seeing him win very much. There isn't really much to go off. We can't say that he's an easy winner. He's an easy loser because we don't know.
No, I don't want to take away from what Tommy Dillon brings to the table. I don't want to take away from his skills as a veteran, as somebody that's in the ring, that does different things. I don't want to take away from that. But I do think that there is something to the fact that let's leave aside the most recent matches psychologically. And Disciple, by the way, is coming next week, and I'll actually do you a solid. I'll ask him his thoughts on your match, and I'll see what Mr. Disciple says. I'm sure he'll have a thought or two on your match with Tommy Dillon, although I know he's focused on other things, especially in GTM and Zenith itself, which we'll get to. But I think psychologically losing a title, and especially the world title, and especially knowing you were the first ever world champion, I think that's psychologically a big blow more than anybody can realize. It's one thing if you lose the tag team titles. It's one thing if you lose the around the clock title. It's one thing if you lose any other secondary title or title, even the Northern Division title, whatever title that you want to throw out there. But it's another thing to lose the title that everybody in this sport has wanted right now, and that is the Nonstop Action Wrestling World Class title. They call it World Class for a reason. So leave aside how he feels emotionally or the scouting reports. I think right now, to have lost that title, that gives you such a tremendous advantage because his state of mind right now, more than his wins and losses and who's turned on him, he doesn't know where to go from here right now.
It's a very good point, but at the same time, I don't want to get too confident with it because at the same time now we don't really know how he's thinking. We don't know how he's feeling. It could have been a dangerous turn for him. It could have been something that's obviously hurt him, something that's changed his mindset going in. He might not be going in just for the win now. He could be going in for any reason, really. Obviously, we've not really heard much from Tommy since his loss to Disciple at Fatal Attraction, but exactly that's the thing. We've not heard anything. We don't know what's going on, really.
No, we definitely do not. But let me get to some more comments because I do have some things I want to say. But enough about me for now. Skulls says that was a war interview last night. Well, we'll see, Skulls, if you can top it on Wednesday. Also, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire himself, says not true. These punks have absolutely hijacked every show they've attended. Where is the respect? We let you into our home, and you boys came in and tried to take over. Not okay. Is that a fair statement, though, that Mr. Kyle Kennedy, the lawman himself, says?
Every person that we've had that's gone to an NSAW show has paid their money, has sat down in the seat, and they have not actively got involved in the show. They have paid like every other crowd member that's gone to watch a show. They've cheered, they've chanted, they've tried to put off the bad.
Did you guys cheer too loud? Did you boo too loud? Did you have said anything? Did you have said something, though, that maybe security noticed, that maybe the society heard? Is there a point there that maybe you guys cheered too loud, maybe booed too loud?
I just think the society are way too insecure about losing their titles that they're going to try and blame any other company, any reason that isn't just they can't hang with the rest of everyone else. They're going to find any excuse if they lose the tag titles, well, when they lose the tag titles, to say it wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault. We didn't do it. It was somebody else. They distracted us. They put us off. We couldn't help it. It wasn't on us. It's just childish.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna let some of that slide. I'm gonna come back to some of that though in a second, but let me try and work in some people. Uncle Ralph, who manages the Modern Day Mafia and CCW, says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Obviously, always love when Uncle Ralph is with us." Phantom Phoenix says, "On behalf of a lot of the Wrestling Appreciation Society, screw the society." So, a part of most of the roster. Does most of the roster say screw the society, you think, or is there a difference of opinion there? What do you think?
It's a very, very high percentage. A lot of the guys don't like the society, but I have a lot of respect for them. I think obviously they're winning championships, they're doing things, they're making their name in the business. But like I said before, I don't like how they do it. But at the same time, you can't not respect what they're doing. Obviously,
I think that you have to more than respect to them. You have to all rise to them because they have the tag titles, and it's four of them that actually have the championship. So I mean, I have to say, I mean, objectively speaking, and they took over Sportswire Radio here pretty much the past week. But enough about what I think. Let's get everybody else's thoughts. Supersonic Sammy Blue says Wrestling Appreciation Society has been very good to us in the recent months. Loaning talent such as Matt Royale and referees like Sammy Rice. Big shout out to Sammy Rice because I did notice he did some referee work, and myself and them are besties already. Skull says NXT Europe will be starting soon. Yep, we'll definitely get to that, I'm sure, at one point soon on Sportswire. But this person says, if memory serves, he's beat you. You want to respond to this individual before I come back to some others?
I don't know who this is referring to. I can't lie. Sammy Blue has beaten me. That is fair enough, but I don't know if it's quite referring to Sammy Blue.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, and I do want to throw up the ladder here, a comment from an individual that you might have heard of.
Yep.
He's certainly making his return to the ring here, and that is Gareth Angels, who everybody knows Gareth Angels. I mean, he's a box office star. We've seen him on BBC. Millions and millions of people around the world know him. He was, of course, the GT Ministries world champion on multiple occasions, and certainly he is preparing for a return to the ring. And I mean, I have to throw it out there. I mean, anything you might want to say to Mr. Angel now that he's preparing for his comeback?
I mean, like I'll always say to any booker that comes along, if there is anyone wants to get a hold of me, just simple message around. I mean, I've seen Gareth Angel a lot in the recent years. I mean, he used to work for a company that I trained for, so
Yes,
I know him very well. I know him very, very well. So if you ever want to, I don't know what the phrasing is, cross hairs in the ring, Gareth. I mean,
cross paths. Cross
paths. There you go. If you ever want to cross paths in the ring, Gareth, just come my way.
All right, well, we'll certainly see. I mean, I think he's going to be watching your match with Tommy Dillon, of course, in the no DQ Royale rules match here. So certainly we'll see here if it's going to be the right stuff for you. And I do have some more comments, so let me try to work with everybody. Losing my title, I'm Forever Northern. That doesn't plan on changing at Deadline or anywhere else. And we know Sammy Blue, you'll be in action on Zenith though first on April the 1st, 4 weeks before the 29th. And Callum Jakester says, if I hear Goth Rapunzel one more time from the Wrestling Appreciation Society boys, they won't make it to Deadline. I mean, do you feel like you guys won't make it to Deadline if that's the case?
I mean, I've tussled with Calvin many times, and
I know that.
He's a very, very hard hitter. He can definitely throw out a strike, but
and he's on a different run right now. He's an upgrade. He's upgraded his career right. That's different from years ago. Can't take that away.
He's not a worry at the minute.
Okay.
I mean,
and I want to bring up the previous comment here that Callum Jakester, the upgrade, is actually saying that he's pretty sure that he's referring to him beating you back in the day.
That was many years ago, Callum, and you're very familiar with that. I mean, I was, 3 years into training at the time. I wasn't the same person I am now, so you never know. Sometime down the line, might be a very, very different outcome.
Okay, well, certainly we'll stay tuned to see if that will be a different occasion in a different company. Also, Callum Jakester says Phantom Phoenix looks like a knockoff Remus Kane. Well, I mean, listen, what's the word they used to say in music? I think imitation is the biggest form of flattery. Maybe that's the case. Maybe
Yeah.
Phantom Phoenix is a fan of Remus Kane. I don't know. I will say a big shout out here to this individual who might be related to an individual who has some gold. He says salutations all. He also wants to say exciting times ahead with deadline not too far away. I also want to get to Supersonic Sammy Blue. You can hear it from me, Callum. Goth Rapunzel. So Goth Rapunzel. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire himself, says insecure, can't hang, in caps locks. Did you see who we fended off in the Battle Royale? Did you see how easy we ridded Champ Rogers and Connor Cage, part of the Super Best Buds at Fatal Attraction? Don't you dare talk like that about your first ever, I put that in there, first ever NSAW Tag Team Champions. Do you want to respond to that from the lawman Kyle Kennedy?
My way of looking at it is obviously, yes, you've beaten all these people. So why are you trying to make it out like we're stopping you from winning your matches? You don't need to start putting out the blame to everyone else for you not doing well when you are doing very, very well. It just doesn't make sense to me that you're trying to make excuses for things you don't need to excuse.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? That is a maybe a fair point to some. I do want everybody to follow Wrestling Appreciation Society on Instagram if you can. WrestleSociety.HUD, WrestleSociety.com HUD. And we are very, very excited. April the 29th is coming. You can also get the link to buy some tickets to Deadline. You can do that on the page here. And also, we'll be raising money for cancer research in the UK. So please support everything the Wrestling Appreciation Society does. We always want to make sure those who are doing it for the right reasons, Wrestling Appreciation Society is most certainly doing it for those reasons. Also, I want to make sure I come into some more comments. Also, who's Phantom Phoenix? I'm still trying to figure this out here. I am still trying to figure this out here. And maybe we'll try to parcel that on Sportswire Radio over the next coming weeks here. And also, Callum Jakester wants to give a big ha 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 in basically over and over and over through his keyboard. So I do want to point that out. But the Phoenix has responded. And the Phoenix says, I may not like Remus, but I respect him and what he can do in the ring. I question why he wastes his time with the two of you. You know exactly who I am very soon, Kennedy. You want to parcel any of that here, Mr. Royale?
I mean, like I said, the Phantom Phoenix is a very mysterious human being. I mean, we don't know much about him. We've had him brought in. He very much wants to fight, but there's not really much that we at the society know about him. So I think we're all going to learn quite a lot at Deadline. Not just the fans coming to watch, not just some of the wrestlers that we've bringing in to wrestle for us, but I think us as a society we're going to learn a lot about like Phantom Phoenix at the event itself.
And that's why you need to go and like and follow all the pages from the Wrestling Appreciation Society so you can buy a ticket and see firsthand what is going to take place in Huddersfield. Also, have some more comments. Let me get to them. Callum Jakes to the upgrade says, you brought in someone you don't know much about, dumbass. I mean, that's meaning, I guess, whoever that might be in management. I think for whatever reason, when I think of Phantom Phoenix, I think of the U2 song "Mysterious Ways." I mean, he's moving in mysterious ways, and we don't know, but it could be mysterious. Who knows? I'm thinking of that Bono chorus there, one of my favorite U2 songs. But that's not about U2 and not about Phantom Phoenix. It's about this individual who makes an excellent point. Please buy tickets and help raise money for a good cause. My sister was just recently given the all clear from going through breast cancer. Many aren't as fortunate. Let's band together and please let's help change that. Absolutely, I agree. And anything that we can certainly do to support this worthwhile cause. And it's always good when you can support companies that are doing it for the right reasons. And I think that Wrestling Appreciation Society is doing that. And we all have someone that's been impacted by that. And we want to also congratulate, sir, your sister, and certainly my thoughts and well wishes. But let me come back here to Mr. Angel because I want to bring him up because he has a question. Can I ask, where can we make donations? I'm all for good causes and cheering you guys on. Would you like to plug that?
If you go to our Instagram page, our Facebook page, there is a link that will just take you straight to the GoFundMe page. There is through there you can obviously donate. It's just a giving page on the Cancer Research website, but all of the links are on our Instagram and on our Facebook. If you just go on there, you can find them all.
WrestleSociety.HUD on Instagram. So it's at WrestleSociety.HUD where it has that link where you can get more information and buy a ticket and also donate as well, which I believe that's where you can do as well.
Yeah.
WrestleSociety.HUD on Instagram. So let me get to a couple more comments. Somebody loves you, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Lucky you, right?
I've got a fan. I've got the first.
Hey, listen, you got one. You got one more fan than some of us on Sportswire. So I certainly give you a lot of credit. And I guess maybe for you, every day might be Valentine's Day in that case. That's what I was trying to tell. Listen, before I come back to some comments, I want to be a little lighthearted for a second. I know we're getting rough and tough here on Sportswire tonight, but I was in a pub and somebody was a little down, and I was trying to tell them, well, don't feel too bad. Every day is Valentine's Day. So in some way or another, try to make it your moment every day. Celebrate those little moments. And he felt a little bit better about that. So I was glad to do that. So let's see here also some more comments. Supersonic Sammy Blue says, curious. I clearly can't speak for my life of it today. Curious to see you talking about the Society, who are the tag team champions. Are you thinking of teaming up with anyone soon, Matt? P.S. I'm taking. So
well, at the minute, obviously, there are a lot of new belts that are coming out. There's a lot of new titles that Matt Royale wants around his waist and over his shoulder. So the tag titles, that's definitely one of them. There isn't a tag partner in mind right now, but there is certainly time to find one in time if needs be. Obviously, there is the Northern Division title. There is the World Class title that is definitely on the cards. And now that they have announced it, Zenith is holding a tournament for their newest belt, the Youngblood title, which
we're gonna get to that. But I have some breaking news here tonight. I have some breaking news here on Sportswire Radio that obviously you thought last night's breaking news where Kyle Kennedy interrupted Dan Robertson was impactful. Apparently, if you go over to the Wrestling Appreciation Society page on Instagram at WrestleSociety.HUD, it looks as if the lawman Kyle Kennedy had unannounced beat up a referee in Sammy Rice, and it looks like, as the lawman Kyle Kennedy has put it, myself and Sammy Rice just became very good friends, and it looks like Sammy Rice is very well down for the count. I mean, I'm sure nobody expected this here tonight. I mean, nobody expected that a referee has now gotten in the way of the Society and their plans, and especially the lawman Kyle Kennedy just a few short weeks and months before deadline in his match against Donnie Franchise. But I mean, Matt Royale, this is something that literally just broke as we're on the air. I mean, again, go to the socials, go to Instagram, WrestleSociety.HUD. You can see that. And what is your reactions here? Because this is something no one expected here. I mean, right now, even referees are in the warpath. They're in the way of the Society, especially the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Listen, the Society are everywhere. They literally are everywhere right now, and the referees are no different. They are in the middle of it, and now they are victims. Talk about this here.
Well, I mean, I knew Kyle was a lowlife, but I didn't think he'd go to this extent. I mean, we're gonna have to send somebody out to see if Sammy's okay. I mean, obviously, we don't really know what's happened. I've obviously not seen the video; it's only just broken, but we're going to have to keep obviously looking into that. But obviously, at the minute, it's a bit speechless, really. I don't really know how to react. I don't know what.
This was not, listen, this is not a joke. This is not an act. This is really something that nobody expected here. I mean, this is basically a shoot here, literally. A referee, an innocent referee who is not a wrestler, not trained to be a wrestler, was beaten to a significant pulp. I hear that, listen, they need an ambulance to get him. They need medical assistance. They need help. I mean, this is right now what the Society people are dealing with. So, I mean, certainly, if you want to joke around about the Society, if you want to talk about the fact that they're hijacking things, if they're whatever, you better not, or anybody, cross their paths, because even a referee, an innocent referee, has now fallen to the wayside. We don't know what the future of Sammy Rice is. This is on par to an attack that we saw disciple due to Gareth Angel for months. This is how serious this is right now. We don't know. Listen, you're going to have to tune in to Wrestling Appreciation Society on their Instagram, their Facebook, YouTube, all their social media pages for more information on Deadline and an update for Sammy Rice. We certainly wish him a speedy recovery here.
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, we'll look into it. We'll make sure that they're okay. But hopefully, whatever Kyle's done, it doesn't leave any lasting reoccurring issues. But obviously, for now, there's not much I can do. But it'll be something we're definitely going to look into. I know Donnie's probably out there already on his way, but I don't know.
Somebody's out. I'm sure management. I'm sure everybody is out there and wants to check on this man. And again, please go to the social media pages of Wrestling Appreciation Society to check on this here, because we only wish Sammy Rice a speedy recovery. We certainly hope to see him back out there refereeing, living his dream, living these moments here. And I mean, obviously, listen. I mean, this was a beating. I mean, it's really. I mean, I'm being dead serious here. As the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio. For 4 years here, I'm doing this. I have never seen something like this here as we're on the air live. A referee was beaten to a pulp. And that's the advice. Listen, if you're Dan Robertson right now, and I just want to go back to Dan Robertson very quickly before I get to more comments. If you're Dan Robertson right now, and you just saw what Kyle Kennedy did to Sammy Rice, you better be on your best behavior. You were forewarned last night. That's why you were forewarned. Because the society, and especially Kyle Kennedy, what they did to a referee, making him a number, making him literally somebody that's going to probably be who knows what happens to him, that could happen to you. If you keep poking the bears when it comes to Callum Jakes to the upgrade, Remus Kane, the rock idol of the UK, Jenny Hayes, and certainly the lawman Kyle Kennedy. So Dan Robertson, if you're out there right now, you watch that video and you say, you know what? That could have been me. I'm a lucky man right now. I got to listen to those words that Kyle Kennedy gave me last night on Sportswire Radio. And certainly, again, we hope for the best for Sammy Rice. We hope for everybody's sake here that he's okay, for his family, his loved ones, and obviously Wrestling Appreciation Society here. And also we have here from the lawman Kyle Kennedy more comments. Back off. That's his title. He's upset right now. And certainly this individual says, I have a title already, but there are definitely more that is in my sights. Tag or singles, I want it. Supersonic Sammy Blue in bold says no, not the referee. That's a mirror image of me, and he's in tears right now. People are really very distraught about this right now. And the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, I am not sorry. Donnie Franchise here giving us an update says, too far, Kyle. That's not only our ref, but that's nonstop action wrestling's referee. You have just shot yourself in the foot here. Don't worry, Matt. I'm on my way to check him out. Thank you. Donnie Franchise, before we get off the air, if you can give us an update, anything, we certainly hope for this young man's sake that he will be okay and eventually has a speedy recovery here. Phantom Phoenix says, one mistake too many, Kyle. Donnie Franchise will have his way with you at Deadline. Gareth Angel says, I might have accidentally smacked a ref in the past. Sorry, Simon Williams, but this is, I mean, I've never, listen, I'm doing this 4 years, right? I've interviewed politicians, I've interviewed wrestlers from all over the world. I just had on Vito Fratelli, who's wrestling the MLW champion this Saturday. I don't even think Vito Fratelli would have did that. And he's wrestling the MLW champion who's been undefeated for 2 years, Alexander Hammerstone. I don't even think Vito Fratelli would have just did what Kyle Kennedy did. Vito Fratelli beat TJ Perkins 4 months ago in a ring somewhere. I mean, he wouldn't have done that. What Kyle Kennedy did just now, ladies and gentlemen, here on Sportswire Radio, this is something that it's one for the ages. I don't have any words because this is something nobody expected here. Also, the lawman Kyle Kennedy says, screw the ref. I'll beat up your nan if I wanted to. Listen, this man might. Listen, like I said, I've been telling everybody, the society are everywhere. You better rise to them or you'll get in their crosspads. One mistake too many. We got that also. Uncle Ralph says, are we condoning these actions, Tom? It seems like that's the way you're speaking. I didn't condone them. I don't think I condone them. What I said was the society are everywhere. And if you get in their way, this is what could happen. Even innocent referees. And the fact of the matter is, I think I made a point, Uncle Ralph, and I'll let Matt chime in here. Dan Robertson, that could have been him. That was more of my point. I'm not condoning their actions. I certainly wish this man a speedy recovery. I don't wish that on any man. You want to jump in, Matt Royale?
I've just got one thing to say now, and it's NSAW management. If because of all this that's going on, Zenith, I want in that match with Kyle Kennedy. I'm going to take his head clean off his shoulders and I'm going to make it roll to the aisle and I'm going to knock him straight out of the ring and I'm going to take the title out of his hands that I know he so desperately wants to win.
All right, let me ask you a follow-up question. As we're here with Matt Royale, we were speaking about the breaking news here tonight on Sportswire Radio. Literally just about 10 or so minutes ago, it was found that a referee, Sammy Rice, who works for Wrestling Appreciation Society and Nonstop Action Wrestling, was laid out in a senseless attack from one-fourth of the tag team champions from the society, the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Now, some might say, though, that you might want him in the ring, as you just announced here. I'll come back to that, though. But some might want, as Uncle Ralph would say, suspensions. Some might want disciplinary action, fines. Is that what you want, or do you want him in the ring? I mean, talk about this versus what you just said.
I don't want him out of the business. I want him in the ring, the middle of it, and I want to take him. I want him gone, but I don't want it to be written off. I want him to be in the hospital, just like Sammy's probably going to right now. I want him in the hospital. I don't know how long for, but what he's done, absolutely unacceptable. Obviously, hopefully in the next few weeks, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to come out, but we want to hear Sammy's response, but we don't know how long it's going to take. Obviously, Don is now on his way, but we can hope to God that they're going to be okay.
I certainly hope for that. Like I said, because referees, they're not wrestlers.
No.
Referees are there to do a job. They're there to count 1, 2, 3, or if a wrestler submits, to say ring the bell, or if it's a double disqualification or a count out or whatever else it is, they're there for those reasons. They're not there to be in the ring and to be basically beaten senselessly. So I want to make that clear that that's not something that I'm endorsing or anybody else is endorsing here tonight on Sportswire Radio. Certainly, and this is also a message for anybody that attempts wrestling and they don't know what they're getting into. You know, be safe out there. The accidents can happen. I mean, certainly this young man, Sammy Rice, we don't know what's going to happen to him now. The lawman Kyle Kennedy says might need a new referee for Deadline. Well, I'll come back to that. No one is safe when it comes to the side. I think that was more of my point here. Someone in management here from Nonstop Action Wrestling, Mr. Richard Knights, who's Mixed Knights, as some may say. Royale, you couldn't handle any member of the society. You don't want to cross Kennedy while he's on the warpath. I mean, is this about personal now turning into personal animosity because of what just happened here tonight? Is that why you want to go in the ring? Is it a matter about just getting your hands on Kyle Kennedy, not so much winning the match, but just to be able to get his hands on him after what he did literally just 10 minutes ago towards Sammy Rice?
Kyle's poked the bear for a very long time, but this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I think it's something that I don't need it to happen. It's not something I want to happen. It needs to now happen. He can't get away with doing the things he's doing. Not at all. And what he has done is disgusting.
No, this is something, I mean, like I said, I have never seen this before. Literally, as we're on the air and Sammy Blue says there better be 100,000 doctors out there to take a look after every need. Yeah, no, listen, there's no question about it. But I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on this, but I mean, Nonstop Action Wrestling right now, I mean, management has to be seeing this because, I mean, nobody's safe right now. I mean, we saw a referee get a senseless and innocent attack. And again, everybody go to the Instagram pages, go check all that out. But I mean, nobody is safe right now. I mean, if your management, I mean, this could this happen to fans? Could this happen to concession stands? Or could this happen to people who are going to be security? I mean, maybe you need Martin Kirby really for security reasons on April the 1st. Because, I mean, if your management, I mean, this is really a representation of your company. I mean, what do you think management is thinking?
I think I'd hope that they're thinking it's a bit of a disgrace, to be fair. I mean, Sammy has been sworn in as their brand new referee, and it's within a month, 2 months, they've already now been attacked by one of their mainstays that are going. I think it's just disrespectful, if anything. I mean, They're meant to be someone that is respecting the industry. I mean, it's a referee. We know, we learn from the get-go, you don't put your hands on a referee. And now, obviously, apparently the rules don't apply for Kyle Kennedy. So I'd hope that there's some repercussions that get brought on, but it's up in the air right now.
I mean, that's real. It's again, and Supersonic Sammy Blue says he's going to make sure to get a word to Champ Rogers. He's in the other room. So maybe we'll get a statement from management here as we're on the air for a little while longer. Maybe we'll hear from management in terms of maybe what they have to say. Because this is really, listen, you want to have a safe work environment. I mean, listen, referees are workers. You cannot have an environment where referees are senselessly attacked and laid out. So there has to be some type of statement from management, whether it's about what you want against Kyle Kennedy or whether it's anything in general, because if I'm in Nonstop Action Wrestling, I have my biggest show of my company's history coming up here on April the 1st. I've got the legendary Martin Kirby. We were going to talk with you about the Youngblood Championship. We were going to talk about Zenith, maybe Wrestling Appreciation Society, but now I don't know how to respond to this here. And Richard Knights would like to add, it happens to people who don't know their place. The NSOR management have long shunned us. We will not be ignored any longer. Now, he's part of management. He's one of the members of management. Obviously, he's not the majority maker, but he's there in that room. I mean, what is your opinion to what Richard Knight had to say here just now?
I think there shouldn't be anything like that in management. I think management, the whole point of it is you're unbiased to your talent unless something like this occurs. And obviously, Richard Knight is endorsing what's happening. I think that is wrong. You're endorsing pain that's been inflicted on your own staff by someone that you apparently respect because they're in your little group. I think it's disgusting and completely unacceptable.
Well, I want to add that I would imagine Wrestling Appreciation Society is watching this, and they certainly, I would imagine, would have a statement toward this and certainly would not condone these actions. Would that be fair to say, you think?
I'd hope so, but if not, we will definitely be talking with management because this is not okay. This isn't how deadline's supposed to be like coming up to. I mean, all we wanted to do was put on a show to raise money for a great cause, and now everything's happened because of it, and it hurts because it's for such a good cause, and yet it now seems like our name's being tarnished and dragged through the mud by people like Kyle Kennedy and the society.
Well, I'll say this. If anybody wants to come on tomorrow on Sportswire Radio, we do have an opening. We were supposed to have our regular spot in the LWF. So if there is somebody from management that would like to provide a few short minutes on this tomorrow night, we do have the floor. We're ready. If there's anything we can do to provide an update, and certainly anything else on management, if they want to put a statement, we're certainly happy to speak with anybody here tomorrow night on Sportswire Radio about this here. Uncle Ralph says, surely the answer lies with the promoters and management to beef up security. And you know what? Maybe that is the case. Maybe that's Joshua Snow. Maybe Joshua Snow, right? Now, remember, he took a beating from Young Horace this past weekend at Fatal Attraction. Obviously, we saw Snow's focused on the announcements and with the society. Maybe it's about Snow putting the society in positions that led this to what happened here. Obviously, they got to go through this tag team battle royal, and now we see also with the Youngbloods championship that he's announced, maybe that this was seen as a way to kind of a shot toward Joshua Snow. I don't know. I mean, maybe even when it comes to security, maybe you have to bring the modern day mafia in, Uncle Ralph, to beef up security because they're for hire. I mean, maybe that's the case. Maybe Joshua Snow has to rectify this and ask the modern day mafia to be there at Zenith to make sure nothing happens to anybody, whether it's fans, whether it's referees. I mean, somebody else is saying, I don't know if this is to be accurate. I don't know if you'd want this even. I don't know if Wrestling Appreciation Society's management could comment on this, but should they be stripped of the tag team championships?
I don't think so. I think the greater embarrassment would be have them lose. I think you take the titles away, they could win them back. What's stopping them from doing that? I mean, if they lose the belts, that is then, I'd say, more embarrassment on their egos that they already have that are way too high.
Okay, that's certainly, I can respect that. And Uncle Ralph would also like to say management must take responsibility and beef up security to ensure incidents like this do not happen. And listen, that is a fair point because listen, you watch an AEW or a WWE show, right? You always see when the wrestlers are coming up the ramp, right? You see that security guard, that big guy, right? On the left or the right hand side, depending on the ramps, right? You always see some type of security guard out there kind of going like this and they're watching. So maybe that's what we need. And so maybe the modern day mafia should be that security. I don't know. I mean, but there has to be. Listen, Disciple didn't even do this. I mean, he didn't just attack a referee randomly outside of a show. I mean, certainly he has issues with referees, but this is something I don't know if I've seen. Also, Richard Knight says, my staff, I built that company from nothing only to have Snow and Rogers barrel in and take over. Time and patience is running out. So do you think here this is a power struggle that Sammy Rice got in the middle of, basically?
I very much hope not, but I think it's definitely I think it just further shows their insecurity. They know that something's not right, and they're trying to take out on anyone that they can get their hands on. Like they're looking at taking out referees, like you say, someone that's not trained to wrestle. If you really got beef, take out a wrestler that can fight back. Don't take out someone that isn't going to fight back, because that's not what they're trained to do.
And I believe that I have received word that in about 5 or 10 minutes, we will actually get an update about the condition of Sammy Rice. So stay tuned for that before we go off the air here. So we will actually get you an update. And so I want to thank management for reaching out to that. So we will actually wind up doing that here on Sportswire Radio. So I want to make sure that people hang on here for about 10 or 15 minutes further, and we will get the condition here when it comes to Sammy Rice. And we certainly do give our well wishes and hope for a speedy recovery here. Also, somebody says here, Matt Royale, biggest fan. You got more fans. I see two big fans here tonight. I mean, boy, what? I guess. What do you give some mail because you got two big fans tonight?
I mean, you got to keep slipping the 20 pounds out, haven't you? Really, people will keep coming.
Well, you might have more fans than Tommy Dillon does these days. I'll say that much. I mean, if I could say that, I mean that would be a maybe, hopefully not a slap in the face. But we are here on Sportswire Radio, and we are speaking with Matt Royale, and my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the owner of Sportswire Radio, the host of the Sports Report. We are trying to make sense of what just happened here with Sammy Rice, a referee, an innocent referee who is with Nonstop Action Wrestling and Wrestling Appreciation Society. And Matt Royale is also going to be in the ring upcoming at April the 29th for Wrestling Appreciation Society for Deadline in a Royal Rules match here, Royale Rules match against Tommy Dillon, the wild card, the former Nonstop Action Wrestling world-class champion. And if you like what you hear from Wrestling Appreciation Society, please give them a follow on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, please continue to give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, YouTube at Sportswire Radio. Also, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And also, I'll be back on here in a couple of hours. I'll be talking football coverage. So we're going to go from Sammy Rice getting beat up to football coverage around the world with the coach of the Five Town Sound women's soccer team, Jeff Litwin. Jeff is the coach out here on Long Island, so he just took the job over. So I looked forward to hopefully having a little bit more of a docile conversation than one we've had here tonight. But we are here with Matt Royale. And Matt, we spoke a little bit more about Nonstop Action Wrestling. I'll come back to Tommy Dillon here in a few minutes before we get the live update from management here, and hopefully Sammy Rice will be okay. But I would imagine then you want to be there at Zenith. I mean, is it safe to say, is that what you want? Do you want Tommy Dillon? Is it Tommy Dillon. Do you want the lawman Kyle Kennedy? Do you want that Young Bloods championship? I mean, what do you want right now? Zenith is the biggest show that Nonstop Action Wrestling has ever had. Do you now feel a personal responsibility that you and maybe even others from Wrestling Appreciation Society should be wrestling?
Absolutely.
They're on April the 1st, God.
Absolutely. I think now is the time that we need to really strike. I mean, it's only about 4 weeks before deadline itself. So I think now is the time where we can really show what we can do. And obviously the Youngblood match, that's where I want to be. Not just for the belt. The belt is an amazing opportunity, but just to get my hands on Kyle Kennedy, who is obviously the first person announced for that match. But honestly, if I can get my hands on him, that's all I really want. Win, lose, or draw, he does not walk out that the same man.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-up question, because obviously I find this to be an interesting one, and I've seen this in other companies where their championships get defended elsewhere. CCW is an example of this. We've seen it with GT Ministries in the past with some other companies, but do you feel now that this would be a really, really big feather in the cap? Let's say you go now into Zenith, you go and take that championship. In addition to rectifying what happened for Sammy Rice, maybe doing this in regards to Sammy, dedicating this to Sammy as a tribute, and now you take a championship away from Nonstop Action Wrestling. So do you feel like in a lot of ways you've got a personal responsibility on behalf of the locker room right now, Sammy Rice especially, to get that championship and to take that into April the 29th into deadline?
Absolutely. I think there is definitely a responsibility on my back to really bring the WAS locker room to light. I mean, I'm out of all of our guys, I'm the most experienced. I think it is on my head to kind of guide them to what they need to do. And I think if I can take that championship in, it's just a perfect example of what can be achieved if you put the work in, what can be achieved if you fight hard enough for what you want to do. So absolutely, I think if I did take it in, it'd be a great thing for them all to see and a great thing for my career.
When you get off this in 15, 20 minutes, you have a young locker room. There's no question that the locker room here in Wrestling Appreciation Society is even in a younger locker room than an NSAW.
Yeah.
What do you think you're going to tell those in the locker room in the back? Because you know everyone's going to be talking about this here, about what happened to Sammy. What are you going to try to tell them to maybe calm them down a little bit and to keep them focused on the task at hand, which is April the 29th?
I think it's just a case of Sammy obviously might not be coming and seeing a lot of people for a very long time, but obviously they wouldn't want us to kind of dawn on it. They wouldn't want us to stop the fighting for it. And if anything, they'd want the exact opposite. They want us to keep pushing forward. They want us to show why we are WAS, why we are who we are, and why we're doing what we're doing. And they want us to show the society that they can't just push anyone around that they want to, and they need to kind of just slow their roll a little bit, learn their place and everything, and just go with the moment.
All right, well, certainly in Nonstop Action Wrestling, they haven't been able to really do that. They have not been able to control the society. And somebody last night that was forewarned, by the way, Dan Robertson, I just want to say to you, I want to address to you, that could have been you tonight, buddy. That could have been you. That could have been you being laid out by the lawman Kyle Kennedy. So I hope you heard and I hope you watched what happened when it came to Sammy Rice. The Lord and Savior looks forward to winning the Rumble, by the way, on the 29th of April. Anything you want to say to Mr. Robertson? Obviously, Mr. Robertson, that could have been you. Anything you want to say to him?
I mean, I'll give him the best of luck in that match. I mean, I'm personally not entering the Deadline Rumble. It's not something I'm really focusing on for the show. Like, I've got my own things to deal with. So best of luck to everyone that enters that match. But just be sure that whoever does walk out the winner, I'm sure there'll be something on the cards later down the line, even if it's next year's show. Because hopefully this is going to be something that happens year after year. That hopefully that they have to, whoever wins that match does have to think about the future and kind of what that's going to represent and kind of what that means to them. Because this isn't a one-time thing. This isn't a small show. This is hopefully something that is going to carry on. It could be a WrestleMania worthy show. So they've got to realize that if they win the biggest match on the first time it's ever been on, it's a big responsibility to keep going forward.
Well, you know what? I agree with all those sentiments. And I have two comments here before I come and get an update from Management and Wrestling Appreciation Society first. So let me get to the first one before I get to Enso's management about the attack. Any chance that you think Gareth Angel could have a chance to be there in April the 29th? Because he's actually laying out that he would like to be a part of things. I mean, anything you might want to say toward that?
Anything that you want, you'd have to message management. I'm not taking much control over that side of everything. So it'd be a case of messaging management and seeing what we can do. But I'm not too sure at the minute. I think we might be about filled up, but I think we might be taking some placeholders.
Listen. I'm going to jump in for a second, right? Because I happen to know Gareth Angel pretty well, as most of us do, right? And I'm sure Mr. Cox is out there listening to this. I'm sure that he might have an ear to the ground. If Gareth Angel wants in the Rumble, you find a way to put him in the Rumble. I'm going to do, and you know what? If you can't do it, if you, for whatever reason, we can't afford to do it, I shouldn't do this, but I'll do it. We have the pounds here on Sportswire to make it happen. So listen, I will just say right now, Mr. Angel wants in, get him in there. whatever you can, you get him in there. Because listen, if Martin Kirby could be a part of NSAW, I'm just throwing it out there. Gareth Angel, the legendary Gareth Angel, box office star, BBC, I mean, religious leader. I mean, this man has done it all. For my personal advice to Mr. Cox, anybody else, go out and find a way to put Gareth Angel out there. I'm just saying. That's just me. Just Tom Bryce speaking. What do I know, right? But let me get back to management here before I come back and get an update on Sammy Rice here from Wrestling Appreciation Society, because they would obviously like to chime in here, and I'm sure our representative here will hear this. Good evening, gentlemen. Tuning in here to say what we've just heard about the news here, we can only apologize once again for Kyle Kennedy's actions at this moment. We can't promise anything other than we'd like to offer a spot at Zenith and an opportunity to get your hands on Kennedy. Take your time and give us your answer when you're ready, Mr. Royale. Would you like to respond to this here from Nonstop Action Wrestling and their management?
I don't think I need any time to think about it, really. Put me in the match. I'm ready. Kyle will not be walking out of that match with that belt if I can do anything to stop it. That's my promise, and I'll do it for NSAW, for Sammy Rice, and for everyone in WAS.
So, confirm. Is that a yes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll see you April 1st, Kyle. Hope you're ready.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nonstop Action Wrestling is going to have their biggest show in their company's history. You can find out more information at NSAW Wrestling UK on Instagram, NSAW_UK on Twitter, Nonstop Action Wrestling on Facebook, YouTube. Also join the Nonstop Action Wrestling Universe group on Facebook as well, and you can find out how you can buy tickets to the biggest show, just maybe the biggest show. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen, WrestleMania weekend, but WrestleMania weekend pales into comparison to what Nonstop Action Wrestling Zenith is going to offer, and especially we're going to see Disciple and Connor Cage for the world-class title. The Society are going to be in action. We've seen a lot about them tonight. I mean, Champ Rogers has spoke obviously earlier this week. I mean, there is a lot to get into. Youngblood Championship here, and also Phantom Phoenix says, best of luck, Royale. Fight for all of us. And we have here Craven Rage, who's tuned in here from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. He is their world champion. He is their ruler of the yard out there in WCE. He is certainly the multiple champion there. He's basically their Grand Slam champion, if you could call it that way. But before I bring in management for a second, is there any other word? Because I'm going to hold off on final words to Tommy Dillon because that's April the 29th. We'll bring you one before the 29th, so I don't want to ask the final words. I don't want to do that because we still have a little bit of ways to go. But before I bring in management and get the update and kind of close off with that, what are your final words on behalf of Wrestling Appreciation Society toward Kyle Kennedy, the Society, or anybody else out there that is traumatized about what they saw tonight?
All I can say is April 1st at Zenith in Barnsley, you better come hungry, ready, because I'm not leaving that ring until you are on the floor, down for the count, or just playing out the cold. Because honestly, you don't deserve to be able to walk after that match. And I promise you, you won't walk away the same way again.
All right, well, and we have a confirmation here when it comes to Nonstop Action Wrestling. There we have it. Matt Royale, we'll see you at Zenith. Best luck. But I believe we have breaking further news here, as we do have an update from management from Mr. Travis Cox himself. Obviously, he is the man. He is basically everything about Wrestling Appreciation Society. And Travis, I hate to bring you in on such a really, really traumatic event here tonight on Sportswire Radio. This is one of the most traumatic events I have ever had, unfortunately, the opportunity to cover here tonight. And I wanted to ask you in terms of how is Sammy Rice doing right now, and anything else that, you know, from your role and just somebody that's involved in this company, and how you feeling right now, and just an update, most importantly, on Sammy Rice.
Well, first of all, I want to say sorry for interrupting such a great interview with yourself and Matt Royale. Royale, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I've just come back from a Swinton medical facility, and it turns out that Sammy Rice is in a comatose state. Obviously, they were planned to appear at Zenith as the referee, as they've done a great job for Nuclear Winter and Fatal Attraction. That might not be on the cards depending on the recovery time. We're not quite sure about that. But going away from the more industry side of things, the Travis Cox, from Donny Franchise's perspective, I'm honestly not happy at all. And I'm sure you're not, Matt.
No.
And I'm very glad you're in that match at Zenith to show Kyle what he needs to learn. He needs to face repercussions. I've already put my statement out about wanting to show myself, prove myself. I don't ask for opportunities. I want to earn them. However, you don't fight family. And Kyle's change of attitude has clearly stated that that is not in his mentality. So from myself and Matt Royale, really, all I've got to say is, Matt, do the best you can to go in there. And if I was ever graced the opportunity to somehow do something that can stop Kyle from doing what he's doing, I'd love to do that. But for now, I've got to do it from behind the scenes, from a professional aspect. But yeah, it's not looking good so far. But sorry to break this very uplifting interview with some devastating news.
Well, I mean, listen, and I'm really trying to come up with the right words here, and I've had a lot of instances in doing this on Sportswire, but I nobody's prepared for something like this, and nobody's prepared for somebody that's in a comatose state right now, because that's obviously somebody's life at stake right now, and family and loved ones, and I mean, how do you guys prevent something like this in Huddersfield on the 29th? Because this is a real concern right now. I mean, it's one thing when a wrestler wins and loses, or another thing we had speaking about Matt and Tommy, and we were talking, and but I don't think anybody was hoping anybody gets seriously hurt or anybody wishes ill will on people. But I mean, what are you guys going to do to prevent something like this again? Because who knows that you can't have unsafe work conditions like this. I mean, this is really, I don't know. What are you guys going to do?
Well, we have our general manager that we've sworn in, Chris Walker. We will have to set up a meeting now, and discuss some options. Obviously, we can't give an answer now because we don't have the answers, but we will discuss them and we will publicly announce.
Okay, and I wouldn't expect obviously so soon, and I wouldn't expect so soon to give us those answers. And certainly, again, we will give the floor at any time to you guys for any updates, anything else we can provide. If there's anything out there in terms of getting that coverage out there, we're certainly happy to do that here on Sportswire Radio. And I do have a few more comments before we close out here, because I do realize this is such a traumatic incident that has happened here tonight that has shaken up, I know, so many people. Whether you're just a wrestling fan, whether you're a fan of Sportswire Radio, whether it's anybody else out there. And Skull said he's not leaving until someone bleeds. Well, maybe so. And Kyle Kennedy himself would like to say, I am shaking in my boots. I'll beat the piss out of you and the Wrestling Appreciation Society goons, just like I did Sammy, just like I'm going to do to Don. I think I'm trying to be kind here. Don the Botch Man. So that's his thoughts here. Oh no, in a coma. Such a shame. I'm incredibly distraught. Send my love. I'll send a card and some flowers. What's the address? Well, I mean, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that, because I don't know if I should really comment on that, because I do realize it's a man's life at stake, a young man nonetheless, and I don't want to jump in the middle of that. So I would certainly want to keenly plead the fifth on that. But before we go, I know this is, again, nobody's prepared to close out something like this, but for both of you gentlemen, obviously Mr. Cox and Mr. Royale. Mr. Royale, anything you want to say to anybody tonight before we close out here? Anything else you might want to share or plug, or just anything further before we leave?
Well, I think I can speak for the both of us when we just went to send our love out to Sammy, hoping that they're okay, hoping the way.
Love you, Sammy. Love you, Sammy.
Obviously, as much as people can, donate, buy tickets, come along and watch the show. April 29th deadline. Follow all the socials. Get in touch with us. I mean, we want to make the show the best we can. We haven't expected any of this to happen. I mean, but we want to get the best out of it. So anyone that can help make that happen, greatly appreciated. But
yeah, I think just to add to that, really, as answer to your previous question, when it comes to show day, me and Kyle will be separated as much as we possibly can. But when we step in that ring, that's when this issue and all the other issues I've had to deal with since deadline and before deadline, that's where they get resolved. And that's where Kyle will finally face the real repercussions for his actions. That's all I've got to say.
Well, I just want to say before we get off the air here, and I have management from Nonstop Action Wrestling that wants to add one more comment, which I'll get to in a second. But everybody that was fans of the NFL that was praying for DeMar Hamlin and praying for him to come back to life and eventually come through from his coma, he came through, right? So right now we need prayers. We need prayers for Sammy Rice. We need love for Sammy Rice. We need everybody to get together. I don't care if you're a fan of Wrestling Appreciation Society. I don't care if you're a fan even of the society. I don't care if you're a fan of Nonstop Action Wrestling, a fan of WWE, GT Ministries, CCW, the LWF, AEW, MLW, Impact, you name them all. If you're a fan of wrestling and you're a fan of Sportswire Radio, just send your prayers, your love, your hugs, your well sympathies for this young man, Sammy Rice, right now. He's going to need it right now. Sammy Rice right now, we don't know his state right now. This could be days, this could be weeks, this could be months. I mean, listen, we just have to give him prayers. We have to just keep him in our thoughts and prayers right now. When you put your head in your pillow right now tonight, say one for Sammy. Say one for Sammy because he needs it right now. His family needs it. His fans, his family, his friends, everybody that knows him. So please keep him in your thoughts and prayers tonight because you're lucky right now. You're lucky right now that you can breathe. You've got a pulse. We don't know right now about Sammy. So I just want to make sure everybody that was praying for DeMar Hamlin, and everybody was hoping and everybody was out there and making sure that they stood there and they kneeled and prayed for him, do the same for Sammy Rice. Because he's going to need it, and his friends, his family, and his loved ones are going to need it here. My last comment before we go here, Nonstop Action Wrestling says, sending our thoughts to Wrestling Appreciation Society and Sammy Rice's family and friends. Anything we can do on our end, please let us know. Well, WrestleSociety.HUD is what you can do. Go to Instagram, Facebook at Wrestling Appreciation Society, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. Please go there. And please pray for Sammy Rice. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Gentlemen, obviously, I know we'll be in touch. We'll have a lot more to talk about here. Aside from the health of a young man, Sammy Rice, who was senselessly attacked by Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, 1/4 of the Nonstop Action Wrestling Tag Team Champions. The society, gentlemen, I know it's going to be a long road ahead. It's going to be a long next couple of nights. So we obviously want to just, let you guys go here and just thank you for this opportunity. And I know we'll speak soon ahead of both your matches and everything else with the card. And just, please send our love to Sammy and thoughts and prayers.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's been a pleasure and an honor as always.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Good night. And God bless you, Sammy. We love you. And we're praying for you, and we'll be back here on the number one global radio station, Sportswire Radio, in 2 hours or so. So until then, they'll thank you. Good night. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Alongside me is Travis Cox, the man behind the founder of the Wrestling Appreciation Society, and Matt Royale. And we will try to come back here on a lighter note. Thank you, everybody here, and good night. Stay well, and we love you here, Sammy, and thank you here. But last comment from Kyle Kennedy. Oh, spare me the well wishes and prayers. Now you know what happens when you back me into a corner, Donnie. Be very scared. Well, we're going to plead the fifth on that and just say good night. And we love you, Sammy. And we just hope to see you soon, my friend. Thank you.